Mr. Genuis for 5, please.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Brennan, just for background, did you previously work for the Government of Canada?
Chair, thank you for the question. No, I have not.
Okay, thank you. There's a text message that's quoted in the Globe and Mail article that is you, purportedly you, saying with respect to the letter you're sending that was sent to the Deputy Prime Minister's office, they are trying to find a home for this opportunity, and there is internal negotiations as to how best to position. Can you confirm that you sent that text?
Chair, thank you for the question. Yes, I did send that text.
Okay. Was that text an embellishment, or was it an accurate description of your knowledge of what was happening inside the Deputy Prime Minister's office?
Chair, thank you for the question. It wasn't an embellishment as much as it was a hypothetical using the Government Electronic Directory Services, which is an org chart, if you will, to identify possible and speculate possible people who may or may not be trying to find a home for them.
Okay, sorry. I don't know what that means at all. Like you sent a text which implies that you have some knowledge about a conversation going on inside the Deputy Prime Minister's office, that the conversation is about trying to find a home for this opportunity. Did you know that they were trying to find a home for this opportunity and that there were internal negotiations going on? Because clearly you can't infer from looking at GEDS whether or not there are internal negotiations going on. So maybe try just try answering that again. Like, did you?
Sure.
Is it true, or did you know that there were internal negotiations going on around this, or were you guessing?
Thank you. No, absolutely guessing. I did not.
Okay, sir. I think just following on Mr. Brock's comments, like the problem is that you seem to have a different definition of lying than everybody else does. And I'm not trying to be a jerk about this, right? But you sent a text saying they are trying to find a home for this opportunity, and there is internal negotiations as to how best to position. And now you're telling us you didn't know that to be true, but you wrote that in a text message as a guess about something that might be true. You said something that you didn't know to be true as a guess. How is that not a lie?
Chair, thank you for the question. It's absolutely not a lie. It's a hypothetical scenario.
Okay, so like, why were you?
Sorry.
That doesn't make any sense to me. Right? Like, because the people who received the text clearly thought that you were saying something true, but you were describing a hypothetical that could have been.
So
explain this more to me.
Absolutely. It was a text. It was a real quick, hey, hypothetical. This is my guess of what's going on. End of story.
Was there any context around this text that we're missing that would have explained that? Or did you say they are trying to find a home for this opportunity and there is internal negotiations as to how to best to position?
Again, hypothetical. I have no idea.
Okay. So you had absolutely no idea what was happening inside the Deputy Prime Minister's office, allegedly.
Absolutely. Chair, thanks for the question. Absolutely no idea.
Okay. Sir, I have to say, just with respect to this investigation in general, our goal is at this committee is just to find out what actually happened. It's to get to the truth. And people with nothing to hide should be able to give us frank and clear answers. But what makes me, and I think many members of the public, even more suspicious about what's gone on in the context of this procurement is that we have witnesses give obviously absurd answers. Like to Mr. Brock's question, you couldn't distinguish. You had said you fibbed about something, and then you said it wasn't a lie. And then here you're telling me that you did send a text, that the text you sent claims to have explicit knowledge of what happened inside the Deputy Prime Minister's office. You're saying you didn't have that knowledge that you claimed to. And now you're saying, well, it was because you were describing a hypothetical scenario. like you weren't engaged in some kind of cosplay game. You were telling your client what you claimed to know was happening, and you're telling us you didn't know was happening.
Yeah, I'm afraid that is our
How
time.
am I to make sense of it?
Yeah, that is our time, Mr. Genuis. Perhaps we can get back on the next round. We are now going to Mr. Genuis for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Chair. I think at this point it's important to take stock of and summarize where we're at in this whole ArriveCan scandal and series of hearings. There are a few things that we know as a committee. Number one, we know that $54 million were spent on an app and spent through a two-person company that did no IT work, that was given the contract and subcontracted all of it. And we know that the RCMP are investigating contractors that have a relationship to this project. We know that the procurement system is broken, and government members, Liberal members, have testified to this on this committee. They've talked about the unwieldy and complicated nature of our procurement system, how we have had substantial growth in the public service, as well as substantial growth in spending on bureaucracy. So we have a bizarre procurement decision around ArriveCan. We have a procurement system that is broken overall, that's leading to a proliferation of consultants hiring consultants who have never done better than they are doing right now. But we also know that this committee has been repeatedly lied to by various witnesses in response to various kinds of questions. Christian Firth contradicted himself terribly in the course of his own 2-hour testimony. We have a witness today, Mr. Brennan, who has told us that what he put in text messages previously was not true. So either he was stating untruths in text messages, or he is stating untruths to us as a committee. We further have Cameron McDonald and Min Doan, two senior public servants, accusing each other of lying to this committee about who was responsible for the decision to procure ArriveCan. So we have multiple instances of people lying or accusing each other of lying. In some cases, we don't know who it is, but we know one of them is lying. In the case of Mr. McDonald and Mr. Doan. And now we have, just this week, stories coming out about severe professional consequences against public servants who have testified at this committee. We have a story now that Mr. McDonald and Mr. Utano have been incredibly suspended from the public service without pay in the middle of an ongoing investigation. So clearly this procurement decision and procurement overall has significant problems with it. But what I'm most struck by is the cover-up that we are seeing in the context of these hearings. It should be fairly easy for both public servants and consultants to appear before this committee and simply tell us the truth. It is not a stressful proposition to appear before a parliamentary committee if you simply plan to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. But when we have people who say, for instance, that a text message they sent was speculative and hypothetical, when it has every indication of stating direct knowledge of what happens inside government, then it raises other questions, just simply of why there is this ongoing multidimensional cover-up from both public servants and from consultants. And it makes me wonder if one of the reasons why people are so reluctant to be forthright and answer direct questions is because of the kind of reprisals that we've seen. When you have senior public servants who are a bit more forthright in the case of Mr. McDonald than others have been, who then see negative professional consequences after they've testified before this committee, it maybe elucidates why there has been a reluctance for people to come forward, but it also raises the question of what's behind all this. What is being covered up? What would we find out if we actually got the frank and honest and clear answers from public servants and consultants that we want? So let me propose, I think, what is more than speculative and hypothetical. regarding Mr. Brennan's testimony. I think it's very likely that he does have a contact inside the Deputy Prime Minister's office, that what he said in his text messages was accurate, that he wasn't just making things up in repeated communications with other individuals in the text messages, but that he was telling the truth at those times. And now, for whatever reason, he is embarrassed about, reluctant to acknowledge that he had an intimate knowledge somehow of the workings of the Deputy Prime Minister's office, and so he is running away from the suggestion that he has any kind of contact or relations within government. It just doesn't make sense to me that somebody would say outright falsehoods in text messages and then dismiss those as it was just a text message. It was just a hypothetical scenario. He was making statements to other people that he worked with, making specific claims about the kinds of conversations that happened inside the Deputy Prime Minister's office. The only logical explanation for Mr. Brennan repeatedly making claims about having intimate knowledge about what was happening inside the Deputy Prime Minister's office is that he actually had such knowledge. So needless to say, this whole ArriveCan affair stinks. It demonstrates the broken procurement system that exists under this government, but it makes me extremely curious, and I think will make the public extremely curious. What is being covered up? What would we find? What will we find when we can actually get to the bottom of what took place?
Thank you, Mr. Genuis. That is our time.